Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So today's going to be a little bit of a different one. I know I've said that quite a few times here lately because I'm just trying some new stuff. It's winter time out. There's not much, I can't go out, go trout fishing or go on too many adventures. I've got Rooney here like always trying to wrestle at my chair. But today I want to talk about something that's pretty important to me. I'm pretty passionate about it, I would say. And something that I've been doing for quite a few years. Probably most of y'all, well, I think maybe there was a video similar to this a few years ago. But what I want to talk about today is goals. And so it's kind of a big topic this time of the year. So Rooney, be quiet. Goodness, buddy. Sorry, I had to go and put Rooney up because he was he was growling and wanting to play. Every time I turn on a video, he always does that. Oh, goodness. But anyways, what was I saying? So this time of the year, it's a pretty common topic, goals, or resolutions rather, because it's the new year coming up. So it's maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks or so before the new year, which who knows when you all are watching it, but that's the time when I'm recording it at least. So this time of the year, every year, I start to think and analyze what my goals were last year and what I want them to be in the future. And I've done quite a bit of this in the past, so hopefully you all can get something from this video that could help you. But the first thing I want to say is I hate the term resolutions. So resolutions, to me, that means you're resolving something. That means there's something going on that's wrong in your life that you need to fix. And that's not always the case, and that shouldn't necessarily be the case that you look at, because if you do that, then what's your end goal for that? Like, what does that look like? It's either all or nothing, like, oh, I'm doing this wrong or I'm doing this right. And that's not the way you should look at it. Goals is the correct term with that. And to expound on that, it's more like each year you shouldn't necessarily set a goal that you're looking to completely accomplish. And we'll get into that here in a second. But first, I kind of want to touch on why goals are so important, why they're important to me. So goals are important because it helps you track your progress from year to year. And this has been super cool for me because I've been doing this for maybe 4 years. And it's one of my favorite things. I love going back at this time of the year, and I go back through all of my years. I keep them in this big journal. Go back through all of my years and read all of my goals from them. And it's amazing how much progress that I've made since those. Like, if I would go back to 2019 on here, like, my goals then look so silly compared to my goals now. It's not because they were dumb goals then. It's because that's where I was at in life. And a lot of times you forget that. I definitely do. I forget how far I've come, how far I've progressed in different aspects of life because you don't track it. You don't remember that thing. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I was like that before, or I guess I did that and I wasn't at this point in life right now. But tracking goals is super important for that aspect. And then the other side of it is it's a motivation in order to accomplish something. When you write something down and kind of speak it into existence, you kind of tell yourself like, hey, this is really something that I'm striving for to accomplish. And with the if you create a habit with doing this, you know that at the end of the year you're going to look at this and you're going to either be happy with how you did or disappointed with how you did. And no one's perfect in this. Like, I've never accomplished all of my goals, but you definitely want to accomplish most of them. That should be what everyone strives for. So that's kind of the reasons why this is important. And goals have helped me a ton in my life. Like, since I've been doing this, it's helped me a lot, and I've been able to accomplish some things that I never really thought that I would get to accomplish. And we'll get into a little bit of that here in a second too. But the next thing I kind of want to talk about is what should they be? So like I said earlier, resolutions is not necessarily the way to look at it, because that mindset of, oh yes, I'm just trying to resolve something that I'm bad at, or something like that, or improving something that you're bad at. That's kind of the mind frame it puts it in. You should look at it more in goal form, like, okay, I'm not where I want to be. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Don't be so hard on yourself. you are where you are, and that's okay. Some things you might be right where you're wanting to be. Some things you might be above where you're wanting to be, or where you thought you would be. But some things you might be below, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing in all cases, but you just have to keep that that mindset that you want to improve year after year, and that is exactly how you should set a goal. You shouldn't just say, hey, one day I would love to, we'll use books for an example. For reading books, one day I would like to read 52 books. That's a book a week. And so you set out and say, or actually, yeah, we'll use that as sort of an example. Yeah, that's a decent one. So, and you set out and say, okay, last year I read 1 book. This year I'm going to read 52. It's not necessarily like that. You kind of have to progress towards things. And so we'll use last year's goal, for example. Last year my goal was to read 12 books. The year before that was 4. I did 4 that year. I did 12 this year. And in writing my goal, I'm going to do 24 next year. And that's another thing with goal writing, is you want to continually improve. You shouldn't have the same goal year after year. You should, if that thing is important to you, kind of expand on that goal each year, but you shouldn't have the same goal every year. And so, in December, I look back at this book and I find all of my goals and I check them off. Did I accomplish that? Did I not? And then I put it down at the bottom, kind of some thoughts, and then which ones I accomplished and which ones didn't. Then I go to the next page and I write the next year, and I look at each one of these goals that I didn't accomplish. And if I didn't accomplish those goals, then I will probably put those straight into the next year, because chances are that's something I'm still wanting to accomplish. If not, sometimes circumstances change. Like one of them last year was create a Jark website. I'm not going to do that this year. So that one's just getting completely scratched off. At the time, it was a decent idea, but I kind of want to go in a different direction with things. But one of the other ones was catch a trout with a fly that I tied, which sounds kind of like a weird goal, but we'll get into that a little bit too. You should have all sorts of different goals, but that was a goal that I had, and I did not do that. Well, I want that to be a goal this year, so I'm going to add that over to the list. But like I said, with the books, I read 12 books. Okay, because I read 12 books and I still value that goal, I'm happy that I accomplished that, and I want to continue reading more, then I want to up that. And that is how you grow. That is how you get better at anything. It's gradual growth. It's not, 4 books or 1 book to 52, because that is my kind of lifetime goal, is to read 52 books in a year. But if I just went straight into 52 books, I would not enjoy that. I would not have the reading ability to even do that, or the time, set up a time schedule. But kind of each year expanding on that, that's how you want to do for most of your goals. And so my goal this year will be to read 24 books. I've used kind of this same metric with working out and stuff like that. So my goal last year was to bench press a certain amount. The year before that, it was a less amount. And now this year coming up, because I've hit both of those, I'm going to increase that again. So that's the idea, just this gradual growth. And then you go back all the way to whenever I first started, like 2018, 2019, and you're like, oh wow, I'm a lot stronger than I was then. But that's, and you don't realize that necessarily the growth, because it is slow, but it's cool looking back on that. But that's one example. It's just a funny example, but that can apply for literally almost anything. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff I have on here. I've not completely made my list yet, but something back onto the list. What should these goals look like? And I usually just, when I first started this, I thought it was just like, I want to get a job. I want to, because I was in college at the time. I want to, I don't know, do these certain things, like make good grades or something, or who knows, random stuff like that. But I remember watching this video, and if I remember, I will link it in the description. But it talked about how you should set goals, and there's 4 parameters: your work life, your rest life, which sounds kind of crazy, but I'll explain it. Your play time, that's the words that they use, not my words, and then your spiritual life. And so work life, meaning you should set goals for your work life. That's pretty simple. Like, hey, you want a pay raise at work, you want to get this amount of stuff done at work or at school. For me, it's a certain amount of YouTube videos. No, I'm not a full-time YouTuber, but I threw that under work because why not? But that kind of stuff. The rest stuff, now this is kind of a weird one, and I never thought about this, but they talked about like your, not necessarily your rest time, like I'm going to take a nap every day, but like things that that you would like find resting or relaxing, that you should kind of strive for. And what was the example here? I'm not gonna be able to find it here at this point. Oh yes, I remember now. Yes, so this was things like doing things that are relaxing, rewarding to myself. Like I put a goal for one of these was take a trip each season of the year. And that's, you know, kind of a silly goal. Like, oh yeah, during the winter I want to take a trip. During the spring I want to take a trip. During the summer I want to take a trip. But that kind of gets you in the mind frame of you should reward yourself for all the hard work that you're doing. And that can also mean like, oh, I need to save up money for these trips if I'm going on 4 of them. But that's kind of what rest. So I don't know. There's not that many that I had on there, but the one that was interesting for me was kind of the play goal. They use play, but I would rather use hobby goal. Hobby goal is things like I had learned a 360 on my snowboard, kind of random. Learn to play a song on guitar. Catching a fish with a fly that I tied. Just these random goals that, you know, with your hobby. And naturally, you would probably want to do that anyways, but it's cool just over the years to be able to track that and see kind of where you progress in your hobby. But usually those ones are a little easier to accomplish, which is also nice because you want to be able to, you know, you don't want this to be an extremely hard thing. You want some goals that are easier for you to accomplish to some extent. And then the last one was spiritual. And because I'm a Christian, mine will look different than the guy in the video. He just said meditation. Mine was a praying goal that I would pray for a certain amount of time each day, and that I would read the Bible in a year, and things like that. And so all of these different goals, this kind of gives you sort of a framework. You don't have to do it by this framework, but it gives you a decent idea on how you maybe should set goals. A wider range, that way you can maybe accomplish more than one at once, because if you go out there and set like 10 or 20 goals for work, you're going to get extremely burnt out in that one area. And so this is cool because you can be working on multiple goals at the same time. Like, you know, I'm not always going to be at work trying to do different things. I could be at home like working on another goal that I have for playing guitar or something like that, or going fishing. Just different things like that. And I've told people some of my goals before, and they're like, oh, that sounds really weird, some of those goals. Those don't sound like goals. But trust me, when you get to the end of the year and you've kind of gone through these and checked off the ones, it's super rewarding process. So that's one of those things you might just have to trust me on that one if you want to try that. But it's definitely a cool thing. So let's look over here. Yes. So how to accomplish them. So this is the one, this is the real, I guess, the real meat of the video that will take you from, this is something, I'm trying to think where I learned this at. Oh yes, it was a thing called bullet journaling. And my friend Charles sent me a video maybe last year or 2 years ago about this thing called bullet journaling. And if you look into it, it's pretty cool, but it's kind of like a calendar mixed with goal setting, mixed with journaling all in one. And it's got a cool framework, but it's put out there with the idea of you kind of make it what you want your own to be. So when I first started off, first month, I kind of went and did exactly how the video said. And then each month from then on, I kind of edited it to the point where I am now. And what that taught me was that, yes, you may have these year goals, but the way to accomplish them is not to just say, have a goal out here that says, hey, I'm going to read 24 books this year. But you should break that into different segments, into more manageable segments. And so what the bullet journal does is it has a section for each month. And it has a section where you fill out your goals for each month. So I will have my 2023 goals here, but I'll also have my January of 2023 goals. And so that might be reading 2 books because there's 12 months, so 2 books a month, and you write that down. But for each of your main goals, you should divvy these up to what you can do each month to accomplish that. Because what happens is you might see, starting off, you might see a couple of these goals that you're like, okay, I can get those pretty quick. I'm gonna do those, and work super hard on those the first few months. And then you might do another few. And what happens is by the end of it, there's a few goals that are left and you're like, oh, I just didn't get to those. I'll just throw them on to the next year. Well, at the end of next year, you're going to be like, well, I wish I just would have done that the past year. And so what dividing it up into smaller segments does is it constantly keeps your mind thinking on that and ways you can accomplish that. And there's always something that you can do to take little steps on accomplishing most of your goals. And so that was the big one for me when I realized the sub steps, I think is what it's called. Writing those out and keeping those on your mind. And funnily enough, bullet journaling for 1 year was one of the goals, so for last year. So I guess that one was accomplished in some sort of way. But it's cool. I recommend you looking that up. There's a lot of different aspects you can do with that, and they actually even make like specific books for it. I don't have one, but I used a separate one, and I've almost filled it up this year. And so it's cool. You can put like all your work stuff in there in your calendar, and you can write about your day and stuff like that, which is cool to look back also. But hopefully that helps you a little bit with accomplishing your goal here. And let's see if I've got anything else on goals. I've got 100 things on goals and motivation, stuff like that. I'm pretty big into that sort of stuff. Hopefully I conveyed it fairly well on this video. If you all enjoy this, I might make more of these similar to this. Maybe next time I'll prepare a little bit more and read a better script instead of just coming up with this off the top of my head. But if nonetheless, hopefully this just encourages you and gets you in the mindset of setting goals in general. But I think that maybe some things in this video could help you with setting goals and accomplishing them. But if there's anything that you take from this is you should set goals. It is a good thing to do. It's beneficial for literally everyone, I think. And no matter how big your goal is or small your goal is or how many there are, you could have a list with 2 or 3. I try to do at least 10. I think this year I'll probably have 15. But I try to do at least 10. That way you can kind of broaden it and make sure you at least accomplish a few of them. I think one time I had on there whiten my teeth. Why did I have that? I have no clue why I had that, but that one was pretty easy to accomplish. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more stuff like this, just leave a comment or like the video, and I'll definitely try to make some more. And if you want to see more, then make sure you subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.